I'd like to say it's a privilege for me to be here today. Why? Because I was born in Romania. And if 5 years ago you told me, or even 2 years ago, you would tell me, you will be in Romania speaking about Bitcoin, one day I'll be saying, nah, you're taking the piss. So here I am. I'm not going to go the route of telling you who I am, what I've been doing, and so on. If you really want to know who I am, catch me later, ask me questions. I'll be more than happy to ask. I'll just say that I've been dwelling in this space for nearly 5 years now, and got my hands dirty in all sorts of things, and that's it pretty much. So today, everybody wants Bitcoin to die. Anyone here? No? Nobody? Okay. Me neither. Ripple, Roxana says. Okay. So, let's see. What are they saying? Oh, this one is fast. Okay, there we go. Thank you. From the inception of Bitcoin, from the moment it was started, people started saying, you know, Bitcoin is going to die. Bitcoin is going to die. And they kept saying it. Statements like these ones are seen, you know, ever so often. You know, it will die faster than you can blink, to, you know, average lifespan of a currency is 27 years, so there you go, Bitcoin will die. That's cool. So who are they? Most of the time, as it was explained here earlier throughout the day, media. Well, why? Well, clickbait titles sell. They make money. Have you ever heard of a news going viral, or you know, big names putting some really good stuff, news out there, and becoming like the title of the day? No. Bad news sell. It's as simple as that. Bankers. Well, we kept talking about how, you know, controlling people's wealth brings power and also profit, because whilst you're not allowed to take more than, let's say, 300 pounds in the UK, that's where I live now, per day from an ATM, they can use your money in whatever they wish, whatever investments or schemes or whatever. I would call them, some of them, Ponzi schemes even. And they can lose your money, but that's okay, no problem. Government. Well, it's all about power and control. We kept saying, no, that all they want is to control you. Why? Well, that's how you subjugate people. You control their finances, you control where they can go, what they can do, what they can say, what they can think, and there you go. You're all powerful. Economists. Now, this is one of my favorites because I think that economists are really, really intelligent people. And I do understand why they would go against something like Bitcoin, because when you spend maybe half of your life or even more educating yourself, indoctrinating yourself with certain theories, beliefs, and so on, what you will end up believing in that so much that when something so new and so, you know, I would call it revolutionary, comes in place, you would call it a scam. Now, why would people call it a scam? Many reasons. Let's give you an example. Romania was a communist country until 1989. Shortly after that, in about 1992, there was this beautiful scheme invented by a brilliant guy. It was a sort of management fund for helping communities. The name of it was Caritas. Now, Caritas in Latin means charity. And why am I telling you this story? Because my father lost all his money by putting it into this Caritas, which was eventually a Ponzi scheme. So there you go, you have a scam. How is this relevant? Well, if you keep experiencing certain things like Ponzi schemes, frauds, this, that, then eventually you learn from experience, which means that you will, whenever something new comes across, you will consider it at first a scam. So it's easy. So let's see. Maybe you can adjust that a little bit. Thank you. So far, Bitcoin has died 376 times. man, I don't know, is Bitcoin like a vampire or something? Just ever, you know? Well, it seemed appropriate, you know, because we are in Cluj, so there you go. What is funny about this, if you look at it, we all know that in 2017, price of Bitcoin spiked all times high, right? And that's the year when Bitcoin died most. I mean, it's like you couldn't think that it will revive from that by looking at this image. Now, why won't Bitcoin die? Right now, we have 103,754 of petahash per second in hash rate for Bitcoin network. Okay? In the last 24 hours, I actually took those numbers this morning. In the last 24 hours, there were 344,946 transactions in the network, and of a value of roughly $6.7 billion. Now, all of that happened and are being validated by roughly 9,000 listening nodes. Now, why am I saying listening nodes? Because Bitcoin network is known to have about 50,000 nodes. But not all of them are active. Not all of them are up to date, which means that these are actually the nodes that validate the network right now. If you extrapolate that and you'd say that you would apply any economical rate of adoption formula that you want, you can imagine what will happen in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, 15 years, 20 years, and we can go on like that. So that's what I believe. Yeah? Other reasons are there for why I think that Bitcoin won't die. It has been quite active, operational since inception. Safety cannot be hacked, your data cannot be sold, and so on. Protection. When I say protection, I'm not talking about cyber protection. I'm talking more about individual protection against oppressive governments, considering that about 4 billion people live under totalitarian regimes in the world right now. Accessibility, fast cross-border payments, remittances, we're all familiar with all of this. It has been touched upon even earlier in the day. Now, privacy, no intermediaries or no surveillance. I know that Bitcoin is not completely anonymous, but as Pavel earlier was discussing, and as other presenters also touched upon it, there is a lot of development happening in the space, which will certainly improve that aspect, in my opinion. Now, stability. When I say that, I'm relating more to areas in the world, let's say, where there's economical or political turmoil. And if you want to leave that place and go somewhere else, then it's much easier to carry your wealth with you than if you had to, let's say, transfer your money from one bank account to another, from a country to the other. And we know there are a lot of restrictions with regards to that, so it's not going to be that easy. But with Bitcoin, you can do it. Now, this one is something. Why do I feel that Romania has learned its lesson and probably will adopt Bitcoin maybe faster than other places? What you have on the first image up there is something that I experienced as a child, and that's a food ration coupon, which meant that as a family, you had to justify how many members you have in the family, and you will get a certain amount of oil, certain amount of sugar, about half a bread. I mean, I don't know how many Romanians I have in the room that have experienced any of this. Great. So you know what I'm talking about. Yeah? As a fun thing, second image. Now that one I remember really, really well. Because I was a child, and my father used to take me on a Saturday morning at 5 a.m., keep me with him in the front of a butcher's shop, because that's what you had to do if you want to eat anything. And when you would go inside the butcher shop, you would hardly find anything other than chicken legs. I'm not talking about chicken drumsticks here. I'm talking actually the legs that they walk on. Believe me, we used to make soup out of that. And that last image over there, it's actually an image from Cluj. And that's December 1989. And that's the revolution. Why I'm showing you this? Because it's very much related to the next slide. What about today? Aren't we living in a bright, beautiful, happy world? Well, if you look at these headlines, I don't think so. You know, it doesn't tell me that. I mean, I was in Prague last week, and every evening I would go to my hotel room, and I'll switch on the TV, like any other human being would do. And these were the images and the news that were all over, you know, the news channels. Hong Kong, Peru, Iraq, Ecuador, Turkey, whatever, India, all of these places. Now, just for fun, I've put this little bit here on my, well, depends how I stay. It's on my left side if I look at the screen. Those are the amounts by bank, just a brief list, you know, because I don't have enough space, of fines in billions of dollars. For what? Money laundering, mostly. Fraud, you name it. Take a pick. This relates a lot with, you know, Pavel was talking about Turkey, and other people were talking about all of these things that are happening. So how do you protect yourself from it? You have to find a way. And we all know that human nature is such that the more you press it, the more eventually will rise up against that oppression. It's quite natural. Unfortunately, in the free world, when you raise your voice and you say something, you know, a truth or something that you found out, something that is going wrong, it's what we call a whistleblower. And unfortunately, the fate of a whistleblower is not very nice. So it's not a good incentive to do it. So there you go, your freedom, Western world. Now, that's what I call the characteristics of us money-smart people. You think about your future, you calculate your risks, you're patient when you need to, like hodl, let's say, and you protect yourself. And you choose from the myriads of solutions that are built out there, how you protect yourself. Now, there are a few other reasons why I believe that Bitcoin will survive and will not die. And first of all, at the protocol level, you have to, you know, have patience for this, like proper security in a decentralized protocol, I mean, for security, complete security to happen. If you would look at the blockchain, Bitcoin's blockchain in 2010, you couldn't say that it was decentralized because it was just a handful of people that were using it. However, as more and more and more and more people adopt it, this will change and it will become even harder to hack or to do whatever. Now, I know that there are a lot of other blockchains out there that come up with solutions and they sell us this, I will support 250,000 or 250 whatever millions or how many transactions per second. That's great. But after all, you know, in my eyes, those protocols have not been hacked-proof, which means they haven't yet supported attacks, you know. So how can you say that you're safe? Nobody has tried to, you know, disprove that idea. However, on the Bitcoin protocol, that happened a lot of times. And although people talk about scams and how much, you know, Bitcoin was lost and all of that, it all happened on third-party platforms, centralized platforms, not on the network. And that's how I see it. These are my final tips, simply because I don't give financial advice to anyone. And before, you go a route, whether you invest in a crypto or the other, or whatever you do, just do your own research, because honestly speaking, I really don't like when people, they never read about anything, they never look at anything, they buy whatever their cousin, their friend, their mother, their father, their whoever tells them, and then next day their exchange was hacked, the coin just went to the ground, price went down, and then they cry, and they say, cryptocurrency is a scam, is fraud, is this, is that, and so on. So what's the point? Those people will be there because it's normal. It's human nature. It's human nature to want to earn money quick. It's human nature to want to, not want to lose out in front of other people. So I guess some of them will still do it. It's okay. But media will be there to pick up those headlines. So we'll have fun. And I would like to end with this, because I believe that probably the small amount of people in the Western world that are investing or buying Bitcoin are doing it for speculation reasons. They're hoping the price will go up, they'll make a fortune, they'll buy the Lambo, they'll go to the moon. Okay? Not in the Lambo, but you get me what I mean. I think that actually Bitcoin can help people who are under oppression, politically, economically, who are at a disadvantage, people in developing countries, people like, let's say, women in countries where a woman cannot have a bank account unless her brother, father, or husband comes with her to sign for her. So she will never have financial freedom unless that happens. And those are probably the people who will benefit from this. Some of us here maybe understand it, maybe not, But for me, adoption means exactly that, freedom. Freedom of choice. You should have a choice of what you do with your money and what you do with your life, where you live or how you live. Thank you.